What if I had an amazing co-host to join me and he's a cowboy? What if we were talking What If Season 2 right here in the Vactor-Verse? You know what? I don't know if I ever got your opinion on What If Season 1, Shaw, because I know that you hate animation with a passion. So let's talk real quick, real quick. What did you think about What If Season 1? And then we'll go into Season 2.
You know why I hate animation?
Tell us.
Animation killed my grandparents.
What?
Just kidding.
F you,
What
anime.
if it did?
That would be a good podcast.
For our listeners and viewers, I'm getting over, I don't know what, some
Ooh.
kind of Delta, Omicron, Beta, Delta, Gamma quadrant
Yeah.
of a variant of something, but
Yes.
it's not COVID. I'll say that, but
Gamma radiation.
I've got a cough. And I thought, what if I still did the podcast anyway? And what if I put a cough drop in my mouth? And what if I wore a cowboy hat just because it's funny? And
All of
what
that.
if I answered your question? I enjoyed What If Season 1, but I got to say it wasn't a complete success to me. I think that it had a lot of hills and valleys, in my opinion. Whereas this season, Season 2, I'm going to spoil my thoughts right away, was consistently great from start to finish. The first season really had like great moments, like the zombies episode, awesome.
Yeah.
The Doctor Strange episode, awesome. But there were a lot of stinkers too. Party Thor kind of was just like, whatever. This is annoying. But Season 2, dope. What'd you think?
Nice. I really enjoyed Season 2. A lot of my thoughts are going to be echoed by Shoff, I think, just from our pre-chat conversations. This season, to me, hit it out of the park. I think this is what I have been missing from the MCU, but with the exception of Loki Season 2, the MCU has been a little bit on the downward swing, Shoff. But this kind of brings me back to those memories, those core memories of watching phases 1, 2, and 3 and building up. I was actually just watching Infinity War and Endgame at work the other day, probably while I should have been working, but it just reminded me.
You were on a break. We were on a break.
Yeah. It reminded me how great the MCU was, like the heights of the MCU. And I'd really like to see them get back to that. I don't know. It's going to be a struggle, but I'd really like to see them get back to those heights. But What If Season 2 gave me a lot of hope. And I liked the build-up from Season 1. Like you were saying, the Strange Supreme kind of storyline and all of them coming together, the multiversal Avengers. That was what was really interesting to me about that first season. And so to see that carried over into Season 2, I was very much excited to see what were the possibilities, what were going to be the outcomes from that. But also, we got a new character, Shaw, Kahhori, and I really want to see her in live action. I want to see.
Yeah.
Because it would be very disappointing to me if Marvel only left her in What If. We never saw her again. If she never appears in a comic book, like if she only appears in What If, to me, that's going to be a letdown. That's going to be a disappointment.
Yeah, I agree.
The promise of all of this Disney Plus stuff, Shaw, was always a connected universe. Oh, if we watch something on TV, it affects something in the movies. If we watch something in the movies, it affects something on TV. I know it's too much to ask that the comic books also affect the TV and the movies, so I'll leave that to the side. If we can just get a connected universe between the TV and the movies, then I will be happy. So come on, Marvel, bring Kahhori into live action, because she was really fun. I really liked her newness, her freshness of that character. Actually, Shaw, what did you think about Kahhori?
What didn't I think about her?
Hey, we're a PG show here.
Right. Sorry. My apologies, ma'am. My apologies. I will keep things very, very gentlemanly and chivalrous for you. Kahhori, is that how you say it?
Yes.
Your pronunciation was dope. I loved it. She was excellent. She was a breath of fresh air. I thought the same thing as I was watching. I was like, this better not be where it stops for her. Granted, I'm sure when they do a Season 3, we'll see more of her there too, but I hope that's not it.
Which
I don't
we
know
are
how
getting.
They would bring her in, but it would be great if they did. I mean, she exists in her own universe, right? So it's like, what are you going to do? But they are still in the midst of the multiverse saga, so it's not impossible. But I loved it. I loved everything about it. I loved that the entire episode was in subtitles. First of all, it was crazy to me because that's a really big ask of your audience that is so used to the opposite. But I completely accepted it. I was like, all right, not only are we getting a Mohawk indigenous tribes language, but we're getting Spanish
Yes.
as well. So 2 languages with subtitles and no English. I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah. I really applaud Marvel for going that, because a lot of times you could think, oh, people that don't speak these languages are going to get bored and they don't want to read subtitles, but they stuck with their guns, they stuck with their convictions. And also, Echo, I don't know if you saw, is there was a little short that they put out, little behind the scenes thing,
Mhm.
and they dubbed Echo into a Native American language. Now I'm blanking on the language all of a sudden, but I think that's
Is it
just,
Choctaw?
I believe so. I believe it is Choctaw. And that also, kudos to Marvel for going that route. I really like that type of inclusion and that type of giving more a wider audience, some type of recognition. And hey, this is your language, and this is the native speakers. This is the way that we do this. So I like that they have those two options. Actually, Hulu did that with Prey as well. I don't know if you saw that Predator spinoff. That it's in the Predator universe, but it takes place. It's kind of like a prequel. It takes place in the previous timeline, but they also had that same type of feature. So I like that. Like Disney and Hulu are doing a lot of that stuff. That was kind of like almost the midpoint. It was episode 6. What if Kahhori reshaped the world, and she's getting the powers of the Tesseract and going to kind of another Earth or another world. So I really liked that episode in particular. That might have been my favorite episode of the season. I'll just name off the episodes because we're doing this as a total
Yeah, that's
instead
fine.
of a one by one. What if Nebula joined the Nova Corps?
Well, let's just like one sentence
Okay.
thoughts on each. So, what if Nebula joined the Nova Corps? Arguably, I think one of the weakest of the season, which is a weird thing to start off with, but I think it was
that
the
was that
weakest of the season.
kind of like noir, like Blade Runner.
Yeah, very Blade Runner.
thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. Episode 2, what if Peter Quill attacked Earth's mightiest heroes?
Great episode. We got to see a different Avengers lineup of was it the 80s?
Yeah.
Loved that. Loved that so much.
That was
And also, it
interesting.
made me appreciate Bill Foster more.
Ooh, yes.
Getting to see Goliath in action. I was like, because when we saw him in Ant-Man and the Wasp, it was like whatever. Like it was a whatever thing.
Right.
It was like whatever.
He was already done and old. But yeah, we got to see him kind of in his prime.
And then we also got to see T'Chaka,
Yes.
I believe. Yeah. So that was awesome.
That was cool. Oh, and Bill Foster voiced by Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah.
That was another cool thing about this whole season was when they were able to get the live action actors to come in and do their parts. They didn't get it on everybody, but when they were able to get people like Lawrence Fishburne to come in, that was cool. That just immerses you more in that world. Speaking of episode 3, what if Happy Hogan saved Christmas? And we got the return of Justin Hammer, and we got Jon Favreau doing his voice, Kat Dennings coming in. So that was cool, seeing all those guys come back.
I gotta say,
do their voices.
It's interesting to me when you include somebody like Sam Rockwell, who is such a great improv actor, and you got to imagine the way he delivers his lines. There's no way the script is that he's doing this word perfect, or if it's even in the script. Like he's probably coming up with it on the fly.
Yeah,
and like, how do you do that in animation, right? Like, normally you're writing a script, like there's like an order to things, but this, like, he's just probably was left to be loosey goosey, and that's what serves Justin Hammer so well and makes him such a fun character.
Yeah, it was fun to see him again. Also, they even incorporated his dance moves in there, which is my mom's favorite thing about him. Is anytime he comes out and he dances, she just starts laughing. So, Mom, I don't know if you watched this episode, but that was for you.
Hi, Mom. Howdy.
Episode 4, what if Iron Man crashed into the Grand Master? Basically, if Iron Man showed up in Thor Ragnarok, like if he was instead of Thor, it was Iron Man Ragnarok.
Jeff Goldblum. Gosh,
that
what
was
a treasure.
Amazing.
What a national treasure Jeff Goldblum is.
I wish we could have gotten Robert Downey Jr. to do Tony Stark, man. That would have been amazing.
But I will say Ross Marquand does a pretty excellent Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, he's done a ton of great voiceover work. I think he's an unsung voice actor. He's done a bunch of great stuff. Even doing the Red Skull. Speaking of,
you know what? I take that back.
War.
I shouldn't. He didn't do the voice of Tony Stark. It was Mick Wingert.
Oh yes, another great voice actor who is kind of unsung. He's done a bunch of stuff with Marvel in the past as well. And Ross Marquand appears
That's true.
in other roles in this. But yeah, both of those guys have great um, Marvel connections, and then also great kind of roles that they've played throughout the years. Real quick, Shuff, I want to get your thoughts on this one. This was the episode that released on Christmas Day. What did you think if Tony Stark was in Thor Ragnarok?
I loved it. It was excellent. It felt right. Like it felt the most polished of the episodes, but also it had the most time because that episode was supposed to be in last season. That's where we get introduced to Gamora, that version of Gamora, and then she joins that group against Infinity Ultron. So they had the most time to really like perfect that. And it shows because it's an excellent romp from start to finish. It's a lot of fun. It definitely stands out in my mind. And it would have been an excellent movie.
Yeah. It's Shuff's birthday. Episode 5. What if Captain Carter fought the Hydra Stompers? So that was kind of like if Peggy was in Winter Soldier instead. What did you think about Captain Carter?
Okay. I don't love the Hydra Stomper, that character. That is kind of boring to me. I like Captain Carter. I'll say this. I didn't sleep with, but I slept on Captain Carter the first season. I was kind of like, whatever. I was kind of meh about it. I liked her in Multiverse of Madness, although she didn't get hardly enough time. And I really, really, really enjoyed her in this season. But I feel like I'm in the minority on that. Because when you go on social media, you see just how toxic the fandom is when it comes to Captain Carter. The two standout characters that are getting the most heat and attention, but not in a positive way, are Captain Carter and Korg, believe it or not. Korg, everyone's favorite. Somehow everyone's turned on Korg apparently too. But I think Peggy Carter, that is the most alarming because it really showcases that Marvel fans have, and I shouldn't say all Marvel fans, right? I'm generalizing here, but who is choosing to comment on Marvel's posts? These are I'm going to read you legitimate posts on Marvel's Instagram account on things related to Captain Carter. Please stop with Captain Carter. I'm begging. Feminism in Marvel at peak. We want heroes, not your Disney princesses. Feminist agenda. Let's see here. What if season 3 was only female superheroes exist and Watcher is also a female?
Hey, I'd watch that.
Right? What if Captain Carter wasn't in season 3 at all? Is one.
I don't
Basically,
get it.
Peggy Carter is stronger than even God and Jesus put together. That's another one. What if Peggy Carter never existed? I've had enough of her. Give us Wanda. Extremely weak writing. Utter trash. It's just insane that people cannot accept a strong female character.
That is mind-boggling to me because you brought this to my attention. I was actually really surprised because the people that I talked to all like Captain Carter, and there's even a Captain Carter shield that Marvel is selling, but I did not realize there was this much hate for the character. So
I don't get it.
Very interesting.
I don't get it. She's a lot of fun, and I'm kind of bummed that we saw her get killed off in Multiverse of Madness. I really do hope that is not the only iteration that we'll get of her in live action because she's a lot of fun and definitely a force. And we haven't seen any presence of Captain America since Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And that's weird in Marvel. And so it would be nice to have some presence. And I think that Captain Carter's excellent. And I shouldn't have been so meh about her first season because second season she really proved it to me, and I'm like, she is a force and she is an awesome MCU character.
Yeah, and Brave New World, Captain America, the next Captain America movie actually got pushed back to 2025, so we got to wait another year for more Captain America on the screen. But I like Haley Atwell, and she's at the right age now; she can still play Captain Carter in live action. So it was good to hear her voice. Sam Jackson, Jeremy Renner. Who else was in this one? Sebastian Stan as Bucky. Now, we didn't get Chris Evans. This was the other one. We didn't get Robert Downey Jr. We didn't get Chris Evans, but
or Natasha.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's right. Yeah.
Scarjo.
Thor came back as well, Chris Hemsworth. But we got Josh Keaton doing skinny Steve Rogers, and he was also Spider-Man, Peter Parker, in the Spectacular Spider-Man, which is my favorite Spider-Man cartoon of all time. So I always got to give Josh Keaton a shout out.
Really? You gonna say that
all time, Sean?
You gonna say that beats that beats Across the Spider-Verse? That's a cartoon.
Oh, TV show. TV
Okay.
show. Sorry,
Okay.
I meant TV show. But I got to give it up for him. He came in and did a great job as Steve Rogers. Hydra Stomper, I'm with you, Shaw. Not my favorite plot device or character. So next one, we already talked about Kahhori Reshaped the World, episode 6. Episode 7, what if Hela found the 10 rings, Shaw? So
Yeah.
basically, Hela in the Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings story. What
But
did you
in
think
the
about
vein
this one?
of the first Thor movie as well.
Right.
Kind
Also,
of
yeah,
that
so kind of a
redemption
mashup.
story, finding
Right.
worthiness, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What did you think
Really,
about this
really fun, and a total subverted like trope. To see a different side of Wenwu was cool. A softer side of him. To see a softer side of Hela, which we didn't even think was possible, was great. See how powerful she is. We have not gotten nearly enough of the Shang-Chi side of the MCU. We've only have one movie, and that's been it. We haven't seen any other appearance of him, and that's unfortunate. So it's nice to bring us back to that, because that was a really cool piece of things. So definitely a great episode.
Yeah, I liked that we got to see this. If Hela was, I guess I was more empathetic of her character in this one than I was in Ragnarok, and I really like seeing more of Hela. And then when we see her later, when they call back everybody at the end, it was kind of like, oh yeah, I went on that journey with Hela. Same thing with Happy Hogan when he became the freak and they had that whole incident. When we see him again in the next episode, what if the Avengers assembled in 1602? Even though he was a bad guy, I was still like, yeah, Happy, there he is. And he's the freak again, which was kind of like, oh, is there continuity between these episodes? Because he's not the freak in anything else, anything we've ever seen before. So is this the Happy Hogan? Like, how does this?
Yeah.
That was a little off for me. I didn't quite understand that, but it's cool to bring back the 1602 reality. Now, Shop, did you ever read the 1602 comics at all?
No, I actually didn't even know they exist.
Oh, actually written by Neil Gaiman, who is one of the best writers
Yeah.
on the planet.
Sandman.
Yes, Sandman, one of the best comic books of all time. I'm not a huge fan of the 1602 series. I like the concept of the Marvel heroes in kind of like the Pilgrim times, but I might have to reread it because it came out in '03 or something. So it's been 20 years since I read it. So I might have to give it another shot. But my first initial impression, I was not crazy about 1602. But this story brought some new elements to it. This is not like the comic at all, besides the time setting. So seeing the King Thor and all of these, like the factions against Iron Man and Tony Stark and Steve Rogers and Thor, seeing the different elements of the heroes themselves divided, the Robin Hood aspect of all the characters. I thought that was interesting. If the Avengers assembled in 1602, Shoff, was that a good episode or a bad episode for you?
That was a really good episode. There was just a lot of, like you said, a lot of plot points that didn't feel fully expressed and explained, like how Ant-Man still has the technology of Pym particles and stuff. Like that was a little bit I didn't understand, and maybe it was the result of other universes, sort of like maybe Scarlet Witch, as we saw Scarlet Merlin or whatever you want to call it.
She was pulling in,
voiced by actually Elizabeth Olsen, which was pretty great.
Yes.
First reappearance of her playing the character since Multiverse of Madness. But maybe she was bringing those people in prior to bringing in Captain Carter, is my guess.
Right.
And then they sort of assimilated into the 1602 persona,
right,
and like dialect, because that was the other part. I was like, okay, if they were brought in, then why are they now talking like they're in 1602?
Right.
So that part kind of threw me. So there was just a few questions I had as I was watching that didn't get answered, or maybe I missed the answer to that question. It was
I didn't see that
quick info dump at the beginning. I didn't hear or something. But I was really impressed, just overall voice work. Not just this episode, but last episode. Like, they got Idris Elba back for Heimdall, and Heimdall had like 2 words.
Yes,
he had like 3. He was like, Hela is not in my vision or not in my view or whatever. Like, and that was it. Like, he could have called that one in. Like, he probably could have just like arranged the words he's already said, and that would have been that. Like, it's crazy,
Yeah.
crazy to me.
Yeah, that was cool. Also, I was surprised that we didn't get Anthony Hopkins because I just watched him in Rebel Moon on Netflix, where he did a voice where there's no, actually, you don't see him on camera at all. He's a voice of a robot. And I was like, hey, he could have did the What If show. He could have came in and did Odin for just a little bit. But yeah, I did enjoy that one. And then the finale, Shaw, episode 9, What If Strange Supreme intervened. This was
Yep.
kind of like like I was saying, the tie-in from season 1, the carryover from season 1, and all those that we got introduced to. I really love this episode. This is probably my second favorite after the Kahhori episode, and tying everything together, also setting up the future. Like at the end of the episode, I was like, let's get season 3 right now. I'm ready to go drop it right now on Disney Plus. What did you think about What If
Oh, I loved
Strange
it. I
Supreme
loved it. They
intervened?
brought up a lot of cool things. We got to see a lot of interesting multiversal counterparts of characters. Like we had to see like Infinity Killmonger.
Oh,
right?
yes. Right. He
That
didn't
was
have a
cool.
speaking line, did he? I didn't hear
I
him
think he
speak.
did. Let's see.
Oh, well, I don't think it was Michael B. Jordan. Yeah,
I
it
don't
was cool to see
see
Killmonger
his
again.
voice credit on here.
Yeah, I don't think it
probably
was.
wasn't voiced by them. I also thought the whole inclusion of Surtur with Clancy Brown, it was sort of like played for a joke. Like,
yeah,
I am
yes.
Asgard's doom.
Yes.
And they're like, we know.
And I felt like, he recorded that, in 30 seconds, and then they used it in multiple episodes, because they used it in the Hell episode, and then they used it here. I was ready to get season 3 as soon as this one dropped. This left it on a high note, and it left me feeling like this whole season was really strong and a really good season of television. So, what did you think about the day by day drop, Shoff, instead of the week by week? What did you think about the daily drop?
I mean, it was great to always have content to watch, but I also felt like it was a little bit hard to keep up with. Because it happened right around the Christmas holiday, which is why I'm wearing a Christmas shirt, by the way. This is my Marvel Christmas gingerbread shirt.
Yes. Nice.
But like, that's a tough time anyways. Like, it's a very busy time of year. Yes, there was like an inclusion of Christmas within the season. Part of me wonders if that wasn't sort of like done later to sort of make it make sense for why it was being released at that time. But all in all, I thought it was great. I think that I don't know if that's I feel like they had to do that because Echo was coming up right on the heels. Like, they didn't have a lot of time to do weekly releases, because then there would be an overlap between this and Echo, which comes out next week, I think. Yes. Right?
And that is dropping all 5 episodes on that day. January 9th.
Which I don't understand either, because there's such a shortage of Marvel movie content.
This year is going to be rough.
So like, why not space it out a little bit?
Yeah, because as far as I know, it's Echo and Deadpool 3 are the only live action Marvel stuff that we're getting in 2024. So it's like, man, stretch it out, because a lot of people complained about when we're getting 2 or 3 Marvel movies a year, but I'm like, more, give me 2 or 3 a month. I'm on more.
And the other thing is, a lot of times when they're releasing more than one episode at a time, it's because the one episode doesn't do enough or say enough on its own to be like, I guess, I don't know, symbolic of the season.
Yeah.
So they need to put out more episodes so that, first of all, the story makes sense cohesively, and also that it's enjoyable. Like, if they just put out one episode and left it at that, and then made people wait until the next week, and it's not a great episode on its own, then that sucks. And so if you have to release the entire season of Echo all at once, that worries me a little bit, because that tells me that you can't enjoy this unless you swallow the whole freaking thing, right? Like, that's
I really want to get into that with you, because I was just watching a YouTuber last night, and he was saying that they sent out the first 3 episodes to reviewers. So reviewers got the first 3,
okay,
but they didn't get the last 2. And he was saying he only watched the first one but he loved it. He was like, "You guys are gonna love this
Okay.
episode." So it's like, I think you and I, and he said it too. He goes, "When I first heard that they were releasing everything at once, it shook my confidence, and it made me think, oh, Marvel doesn't have any confidence in this. They're dumping it in January and all the episodes all at once." So he was kind of worried about it, but he was like, "You guys are going to be happy with Daredevil, Kingpin, Echo, all of the things." So
See,
I'm
that's the thing
excited.
about the show that I feel like most people are excited about the non-title character, right?
Non-Echo.
Like I'm going in to watch it, and I'll watch it because it's MCU, but I'm going in because I'm excited to see Kingpin again. I'm excited to see Daredevil again.
Yeah.
And then, okay, I'll watch Echo. But I don't I wish I cared about Echo, but
Mhm.
Echo just doesn't rank on the list of characters of Marvel as like an important character to me.
Right.
It seems very like C-list, D-list character when there's a ton of other characters worthy of exploring. I'm not saying that they chose wrongly. She's a very interesting character and a diverse character at that. So I'm interested to see what they do, but I feel like most people, the draw is not her. The draw is, I don't mean the actress, I just mean the character.
Right.
The draw is Daredevil and Kingpin.
Yeah. See, I have the comic background for her, and I really liked her in Daredevil, but it was over like 2-3 years of reading Echo stories, and we got her in Hawkeye for 2-3 months, and then barely at that. I didn't feel like she was a super. They didn't focus like just completely on, because she was in Hawkeye's show. So maybe this will give her kind of the spotlight that she needs, because one thing I thought was missing in that Hawkeye show was her martial arts expertise, which is always one of my favorite things about characters, is if they are martial arts experts. I love seeing fighters, like people who can just go toe to toe with anybody, and she's up there as one of the top fighters in Marvel. And when I was watching the show, I didn't get that from her. It's like, oh, she's a good fighter, but not one of the best. I don't think she could go toe to toe with Daredevil, versus in the comics she can. So I'm excited, Shaw, to talk about Echo with you here in the Vactor-Verse, and I'm hoping that you will also join us for that Echo review, because I think we got some good stuff. And like we said, this is kind of we're gonna have to stretch out the content this year because there's not a whole lot. So please join us again for Echo as we talk here in the Vactor-Verse. But Shaw and I both give a thumbs up to What If Season 2. Some nice stuff, some great world building with Kahhori, and bringing Season 1, those multiversal Avengers, that whole storyline, Strange, Supreme, and all that stuff. So What If Season 2, I think, is an improvement on Season 1.
Absolutely.
We're both excited about Season 3. We are also excited for you to give us a super thanks here in the Vactor-Verse. It just helps us out, makes us grow, and also helps contribute back to the podcast. So we are always happy when we see super thanks and comments. I want to know your thoughts on What If Season 2, especially if you watch Season 1. Or, you know what? If you just jumped in and watched Season 2, let me know. I'm interested to hear what you thought about Season 2 of What If. Who was your favorite character? What was your favorite episode? We love hearing that here in the Vactor-Verse. Shoff, I know you're under the weather, but I know you always have a closing, because Shoff is the closing master of podcasting. Shoff, what do you got this week for us?
What if I stopped coughing by the end of this episode and never coughed again? And you also watched What If Season 2 and watched Echo, and then came back and rated us 5 stars and reviewed us and subscribed and shared us with all your friends. See you next time.